What's up everybody, this is Master EN Gamer. Just recently we got a new experimental card with another round of changes for everybody's favorite, or maybe I should say least favorite, tank heroes, in addition to some more expected nerfs for Brigitte. So in this video, I just wanted to share my thoughts on these changes, talk about whether or not they're too much for the tanks at this point in time, and just give my general thoughts on the situation as a whole. Also, just to note, I won't be covering the DPS changes in this video since I don't really play DPS heroes, so I don't feel like I'm super knowledgeable enough to talk about that extensively, so I'm specifically going to focus on the tank changes along with Brigitte in this video. And real quick before we jump on in, I just wanted to remind you that I'm still running my Summer Games loot box giveaway, where I'm giving away 3 codes, each redeemable for 5 Summer Games loot boxes. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter, and then click the link at the top of the description to verify your entries. Best of luck to everyone who enters, and now, on to the video. So the first hero I want to talk about today is Sigma. Sigma's changes, I think, are completely warranted. Out of all the tanks that were changed in this experimental card, I think Sigma was by far the most deserving of a nerf or a change in general. As some of you probably have noticed, I've been playing a lot of Sigma recently, and yeah, even before this card came out, I kind of felt like Sigma was a bit overtuned. And keep in mind, I'm not like a pro player or anything, I'm just mid-tier on the skill ladder, so I'm coming at this from a very average sort of perspective. But as someone who plays quite a bit of Sigma and has really sort of figured out all the tricks to, well, most of the tricks to really get him to work well, yeah, I think he's been overtuned. So I think these nerfs are actually really good, and I'm not worried in the slightest about him becoming unplayable after these changes. Yes, he's of course going to be a bit weaker, but I don't think that's going to really impact how much we see him played, and I know that I personally am still going to enjoy using him and get more or less the same use out of him. So I think these changes for Sigma are actually really good, and I'm pretty sure these ones are going to end up going to the live game modes. Next up, let's talk about Roadhog. These changes actually kind of surprised me, specifically because they're like a partial reversion to what Roadhog used to be. It increases the amount of damage in each of his shots, but at the same time lowers his overall ammo amount and slows the rate at which he fires. So yeah, basically just one of the previous versions of Roadhog that we had like a year ago. I know Roadhog overall has been having some trouble recently with finding a good sort of niche to fill on a team, and so it definitely seems like Blizzard is focusing on trying to make him a bit more useful, and it seems like their direction to take in order to do that is to make his hook combo more effective like he used to be. It's going to be much easier to hook in and kill targets now, and minimizes his potential when it comes to just spam firing. Like if you're just shooting at a barrier or shooting into a group of enemies, it really makes him better now at getting those big single target impactful shots. So if I'm being honest, I kind of expect a lot of people to complain about this in the long run if this ends up going to the main game modes, which I expect it will. Mostly because I think we're going to see more one-shot hook combos with these changes, and historically people have not enjoyed those. As a tank player, I love them because I love playing Roadhog, I love getting the one-shot hook combos, and when I'm playing other tanks, it's not very often that Roadhog can hook and one-shot them. So personally, I quite like this Roadhog change, but I do think we're going to see a lot of people complaining about it. And moving on to Orisa. Orisa. Poor Orisa. All she ever gets is nerfs. Now, in all honesty, after playing quite a bit as Orisa on this experimental card, I don't actually think these nerfs are too terrible for her. Her barrier hasn't been nerfed, thank goodness. However, she did lose 50 of her armor and got a pretty devastating nerf to Halt. The armor nerf is straightforward, it just gives her less overall health and just lower sustain because of that. Her sustain was already pretty bad as soon as anyone got past her barrier. Interestingly, it seems like a lot of the changes in this experimental card were done to minimize the effectiveness of the double shield meta, specifically when it comes to running Orisa and Sigma, but this does sort of devastate her when she's being run on her own without like a proper off tank that works really well with her. But again, I don't think it's so bad that we're going to see her stop being played entirely in like quick play and stuff. I think she's still going to work fine enough, maybe I should say, in quick play and other game modes, but this is definitely going to have a negative impact on her overall. And then focusing on Halt specifically, I don't know what to say about it. I will say that the increased speed at which the projectile moves feels really good. Once I got used to the sort of faster speed of it and just being able to fire it out and snag people more quickly, I think that actually feels good. However, the massive nerf to the range of the ability makes the ability overall feel almost useless. Basically, you just fire it into a crowd or at a specific target, and you use it to just sort of slow and disrupt them very briefly. Like, it's much harder now to actually pull people off of ledges or pull them into some specific position where you want to like combo it with a Sigma Rock or a Roadhog hook or whatever. And I realize that a lot of people really don't like Halt because it's annoying to deal with. But at this point, I almost feel like the ability has just been neutered, essentially. Like, any sort of unique utility or usefulness it once had is almost non-existent anymore. Of course, it can still be used in a similar manner to just disrupt the enemy and pull them around, but overall, I'm almost at the point where I'm like, why is Halt even still an ability? It just feels like its utility has been nerfed so much at this point that it just lacks the same sort of impact that it once had. I would almost say maybe it's better off to just give her a different ability instead of Halt. I realize that that's like a tall order, essentially, just replacing an ability entirely, and typically Blizzard doesn't like to do that, and typically they shouldn't, but I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about this change to Halt, and I think only time will really tell how this actually ends up impacting her, and whether this nerf was too much for Halt specifically. Orisa overall certainly is in a weaker position due to these changes, but as I said, I don't think she's dead per se, but these nerfs definitely put her in a weaker spot, especially when she's outside of any sort of strategic team comp like what you'd see in competitive, where you have her matched up with a Sigma or something like that. On her own, I'm a bit worried about where she's going to be as a hero, but this is something where only time will really tell. And now, moving on to the last hero I want to talk about today, good old Brigitte. If Orisa's got one thing going for her, it's that she's at least not Brigitte, because Brig has another round of pretty substantial nerfs, once again done to minimize her impact in heavy shield comps and just basically the high skill tier, because that's where she's useful actually. To be honest, I don't know if I even really have that much to say about this. It's just more nerfs. The health nerf just makes her die much quicker. That's offset a little bit by the increase in her self-healing, but then again, she also has less healing for her team, so she's overall less useful, and especially if she can't get close enough to the enemy to get those good hits in on them, then she's gonna die pretty quick. Now, I'll admit, I'm not nearly as good of a Brig player as I am with Sigma, Roadhog, and Orisa, so my thoughts on her changes and how they're actually gonna impact her won't be as experienced, I guess maybe you could say. But in playing around with her on this latest experimental card, it does feel like, as with every nerf she's gone through, just more of what makes her work is stripped away. She just keeps getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and I really don't know if there is an end in sight. More than any other hero at this point, I feel like Brigitte maybe should just be reworked. Again, I know that's an incredibly tall order, and it's very complicated to rework heroes, but Brigitte just seems to always have problems, and nothing just ever seems to be able to fix them. Honestly, I don't think there's much more to say about her than that. It's just another round of nerfs. Brigitte is once again weaker, but I still have a sneaking suspicion that we're not going to see her played any less at the high skill tiers where she is such a problem. But that does it for my thoughts on this latest experimental card. I would love to hear your thoughts on these changes, as well as the ones for the heroes which I didn't cover in this video, in the comments down below. Are you a fan of these changes? I assume more people than not are probably going to be upset with many of them, but I am still very interested in seeing what you all have to say. Once again, be sure to check out my Summer Games loot box giveaway, which you can find the link to at the top of the description. And otherwise, be sure to subscribe, hit up that bell icon, follow me on Twitter at MasterENGamer, and come join my Discord server to hang out and never miss any future Overwatch content. Special thanks to my YouTube channel members who make these videos possible, and if you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master EN Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.